Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Boy, it is a joy watching Judd's camp notes in action, live in person. I was there at training camp again yesterday, and I look to provide some seasoning. I've got some notes jotted down here, but watching the man, Judd Zulgad, roam around the edges of the practice fields, chumming it up with Kevin O'Connell before practice. Just a man of the people, saying hi to Vikings fans who recognize him.
That's what you get from a guy who was once, let us not forget,
the lead
beat writer at the Minneapolis-based Star Tribune.
I love the picture we got from the fan in the stands who had her own notebook inspired by Judd's camp notes.
And she sent in, so I said, that's awesome. What was in your notebook by the end of practice? She tweeted me her notes. They were great. And as far as I can tell, spot on.
Let's give her a show.
Oh, wow.
Theo Jackson observations. Jalen Naylor.
Yeah.
She even, and this is a great one, and it's something we have discussed probably briefly on the show, but have talked about, Phil, off mic. She even tweeted about like JJ McCarthy's body language and how good that is. And I thought, like,
I've got takes on
that. In fact, you know what? I'm going to find her name if I can quickly, because she deserves a shout out. Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, hey, it's cute. You know, I've got a notebook too. It's another to go hard.
Her handwriting, I noticed, was a little easier to read than yours.
I tweeted her that too. I'm like, your handwriting.
Good penmanship. Yeah,
Bethany Derrickson. Okay.
Yeah. Bethany.
So she ranked the day's standouts. Now this is from the Tuesday practice. Naylor and Tristan Jackson were great. Good. JJ McCarthy, Theo Jackson. Will Reichard, unfortunately, 1 of 3 from 50 plus. Lucky Jackson with a few big drops, and then the weather. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
Bethany, great work.
The weather got weird. Yeah, Bethany. Anyone else who has, if you have actual camp notes because you're out there as a fan, send them into the show, and we will probably read them in addition to Judd's camp notes.
It was really good.
So, hey, before we get into Judd's camp notes, and we're going to start with some quarterback observations. This week, we appreciate you guys. We're up to, as of the recording of this podcast, $7,500 raised. On the way up, hopefully, to $15,000 by the end of the weekend. The Power of Sports auction benefiting the Courage Kenny Rehabilitation Institute. Yeah, I just want to draw people's attention to one particular item up for bid, scorenorth.com/auction. We are deeply offended. I think there's only one thing that doesn't have a bid, and it was the most fun thing we did last year. Dinner with the Purple Daily crew. Last year, it was, I don't know, maybe there's some confusion here, just for the math. It's dinner for 4 at Parlor in Minneapolis. We did it last year. We did it at Red Rabbit. It was phenomenal. And it says dinner for 4 with Phil, Judd, and Declan. And you might be thinking, it's like one person with, no. It's you pick 4 people. Yep. We bring our 3.
Yep.
We come together as a unit of 7.
Yep.
A defensive front, if you will, ready to slay Parlor in the North Loop in Minneapolis. In addition, you get an authentic signed TJ Hawkinson jersey, courtesy of Pepsi, and a $150 gift card to the Vikings team store to get whatever you want. The bidding starts at $400. So it's a $150 gift card. That's like half of it. Hawkinson jersey. We're picking up the tab for dinner. You just have to show up and, engage the sports dad in some football conversation.
Heck yeah.
Some of my favorite cocktails and burgers. We did takeout at Parlor all the time. It's an awesome spot in the North Loop.
The
Great
burger
spot.
alone is just...
Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
QB1.
Scorenorth.com/auction. We'd love to hang out with 4 of you, 3 of us, 4 of you, dinner on us, and then all the other bells and whistles that go with this. So it's all for a great cause.
If nothing else, this is your chance to get in front of us 3 and say, your guys' takes suck.
Here's
what's up.
Here's my actual favorite podcaster radio show.
We're not going to pick we're going to leave then. We're stuck with you. You can tell us that we suck.
Right.
I mean, there's no price on that.
I mean,
ordinarily,
okay,
I wouldn't even go out.
the bootleg the bootleg T-shirt package has some action here, where it's like the bow leave. Penix would look good
There's
in purple.
somebody on the show who is not popular, and I want to know who it is.
So, anyways, that's available among a million other great things. The Monday Night Football experience has some action right now, and there's some buy it now things too. Aerosmith right now. Aerosmith tickets to hang out with me. Farewell. It might be the last time we ever see Aerosmith in January. There's only 4 pair left in the buy it now section of scorenorth.com/auction. So, thank you guys in advance. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Let's get into Judd's camp notes here, starting with quarterbacks.
All right, so yesterday, full pad practice, number 2. So like, there's not a lot. Like the full pad practice, it used to be the ordinary thing in training camp. Well, now, as we know, because of restrictions, this is a time of the year when coaches love this because they actually get the players in full pads. They're off today, so we went pretty hard on Wednesday, as Phil saw too. Like it was hot, humid, and sticky, got chippy, but this was an important practice. And as Phil just said, we're going to talk about the most important position in all the sports, the quarterback position. All right, I'm going to run through a couple of simple things first. But then, Phil, I think there's 2 key areas from what we saw from the quarterbacks to get into. One is the snap counts, because I find it interesting, because this is an indicator of where things stand, right? And Darnold and McCarthy are both getting a lot of work. Darnold, though, 41 snaps. McCarthy, 35. And this includes the 7-on-7 drills and also the team drills, of which they did a bunch. Now, observation that I've seen from the padded practices and sort of outside of that as well, because I've got a few McCarthy observations, and I'm curious if these wound up in your notes as well. JJ McCarthy in the red zone throws a really nice ball.
It's very gettable. It's a gettable, catchable football.
Yes, and he threw one yesterday.
He can spin it.
He can spin it, and it looks simple when you make it look like that, but then you see different guys struggle in this exact same environment. In 7-on-7 yesterday, the one that stood out to me was a touchdown pass to Lucky Jackson, in which the 2s on offense were going against the 1s, and Lucky Jackson beat Harrison Smith. Now, credit to the receiver, not trying to take a thing away from Lucky in this case, but this also speaks to the consistency, the ability that JJ McCarthy, time and time again in red zone drills, to me, has looked really, really sharp. And I think at his age, 21, first training camp, to step in, and in that drill in particular, to look that comfortable, says a lot to me about his development and where it's going.
It's funny, I had a note in here that says Harrison Smith washed up in all capital letters, burned by Lucky Jackson.
Yeah, he's terrible non-play.
So, yeah, I think it's hard because I feel like anything definitive you say about a practice could be maybe taken too far, or because It's like we're watching the early stages of something that they're molding here, and they have a month plus until the actual season starts. They haven't even played preseason games, but I do think it's fair to say 2 things about the quarterback situation. One, JJ McCarthy has looked better in these situational drills, like the 2-minute, the red zone, from what I have seen compared to Darnold. Mm-hmm. Like, is that a hot take?
No, I think that's
he's
fair.
been more. I mean, he's led the Vikings into scoring range a couple times in 2-minute, and Darnold, even the one that Darnold did, I mentioned a couple days ago. Gabriel Murphy actually got a sack on that last play.
Yep.
But some of that might sway back the other way. I mean, it might start clicking for Darnold, in a week or two. It's hard to like really put someone in a specific bin or shelf after a week of practice. But the other thing that I think you can say even more definitively, JJ McCarthy seems to be great in the role of leader, team builder, camaraderie builder. The amount of times, I don't know if you guys heard this or not, but during the playoffs on Flagrant Howls, Jim Peterson, and Jim Peterson and Michael Grady have been so great on Flagrant Howls, and we're hoping to bring them back for next season. But one of the things that Jim talked about was, like from a leadership standpoint, teams that are glued together and teams that work well together, there's a lot of touch points. Whether it's something good or bad, it's like you'll go up and you'll high five someone, you'll put your arm around someone, you'll have secret handshakes. Like teams that are glued together, you can sense it by how often they actually like touch hands or pat someone on the ass or whatever, right? JJ McCarthy, we should actually count over a 2-hour practice. How many times is he walking up to someone, drumming on their helmet, giving them a hug, doing a secret handshake, pumping somebody up, waving to the fans, right? Like he's the ultimate just sort of builder of connections among rookie quarterbacks that I can remember. Yeah, I mean,
He's got it. You can't say, I'm in charge of this team, right? Like you show it.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of quarterbacks who have a lot of gifts, but not all of them can walk into a room and sort of control it. And McCarthy feels like the type of kid that can. He's 21, so it's not age, it's not experience, it's just something that you have or you don't have.
It's a quarterbackian energy. It's a
Yes.
quarterbackian energy that he seems to exude.
And it's being a good guy and being liked, but it's also being able to put your foot down and be an a-hole when necessary and have that be respected. Brady.
We should, every week, maybe we can park this on a Feedback Friday. Maybe we can do it on Thursdays. Doesn't matter to me. But percent chance, because Sam Darnold, I think, is obviously still the odds-on favorite to be the starter. But from what you guys are talking about with how JJ is looking, especially over the last 2 days, can you safely say that his chances of being the week 1 starter have at least, even if it's 5%, gone up? Has it gone up, his chances of being the week 1 starter? Because like you guys are talking as if his stock is rising.
That's a great question.
Well, yeah.
I would say if whatever your opinion of JJ McCarthy was 3 weeks ago, it has to be higher now than it was 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Unless you thought he was going to be CJ Stroud from week 1 and had unrealistically high. Maybe like it's possible our guy Thor Nystrom, who was the highest on JJ McCarthy, is like still the same. But for most people, I would say it's impossible to not think more highly than you did 3 weeks ago. Seeing him interact with teammates, seeing him make passes on the edges, run the 2-minute offense with a command for a 21-year-old that's pretty tough to find.
I would say that I'll go back to what we talked about earlier in the week on this show, which is I don't think he's competing with Sam. I think he's competing with himself to hit these checklists. And we don't know what the check marks are. So it's hard to move the odds because this is a very unique, like this is not an open quarterback competition of, okay, I'm just watching this guy and whoever plays the best in camp wins, because O'Connell's going to be damn sure that if he puts McCarthy on the field, unless he gets injured, he never has to take him off. Now, one thing I will say they're doing, it's very sneaky, but it's very, very smart, is while McCarthy has yet to take a rep with the ones, and I do believe that is going to take place within the next week or so, they are sending the 2s against the 1 defense all the time. So he's not going against slappies. He's going against
that is worth noting.
Starters.
Yeah, just because we're a week into 8 days into practices here, and to be clear, all these snap counts that you're giving, 100% of Darnold's snap counts are with the offensive ones, and 100% of JJ's snaps are with the offensive 2s. But a large chunk of JJ's snaps are against the 1 defense.
Right.
Like, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's more than 25. It feels like 25, 30% or more. I mean, they're running those guys. And sometimes the first team offense is up against the second team defense, just to give the first team defense a blow. But yeah, that's worth noting.
Now, on the O'Connell checklist, I'm going to give you something that I've seen from McCarthy that is not going to be checked anytime soon. Yesterday in practice again, there is an issue with decision-making and timeliness. I had him sacked at least 3 times.
Which one? Darnold you're talking about,
No,
or JJ?
I'm sorry.
McCarthy. Sorry, okay.
I had him sacked 3 times. So, like, there is definitely a processing thing. And can he take off? Yes. At times he still does. Is that what you really, really want if you're KOC? Probably not. So there is a definite, at times, if he doesn't get that first read, there's oh my God. And he doesn't look like terrible, but he's going to be sacked. So, like, Dex, to your question, like, these are the things that I think O'Connell is going back on film and watching and privately saying, okay, we have to fix that. Now, maybe you could make a case that you think that can be fixed by September 8th. I don't know. I doubt it myself. But that is one thing, just to pull back the excitement a little bit. Like, Phil, there are things that we see where we're like, okay, that has to be fixed. And it's not that McCarthy is never going to get sacked, but I do believe he's going to have a little bit more confidence to deliver the ball. And where it's sort of going to be his fault is, and this is the tough thing, you're going to have to throw, and when he plays with the ones, I'm curious about this, anticipatory balls. So, like, you can't say, Justin Jefferson, flash open, here's the ball. You literally have to say, here's the ball. I trust you're going to get open. So, like, this is the fine line. And I am so curious because, again, this is developing a quarterback. Like, you want to get this right. And if Darnold looks to me like he is more uncomfortable at times than McCarthy, but that's not, I don't think, what the judgment's on.
Yeah, there was one throw, to your point about not throwing to Jefferson. Instead, you're throwing to, like, backup receivers and guys who are fighting for roster spots. There was a play yesterday in and around some sacks, and like, it's the offense is definitely 2 steps forward, 1 or 2 steps back. Like, there's some clunkiness. You got new quarterbacks, but there was one play that stood out in particular in the full team drill. McCarthy drops back. I think his first read was to the left, and he moves back to the middle of the field, so he's progressing through, and he threw a bullet through traffic. And you see the ball sailing, and it's like between a trailing slot cornerback. I don't remember the personnel defensively, if it was a trailing linebacker or a slot cornerback, but then there's like defenders over the top, and he threw a bullet right to a spot leading a receiver, and the ball kind of like glanced off the fingertips of the reaching receiver. And it was Thayer Thomas, not to throw him under the bus. Like, he's had some good flashes in practice too, but you're thinking, man, that was a good ball. Like, that's a tight window throw in Kevin O'Connell's offense, intermediate. It was probably 12, 15 yards up the field. And if that were Justin Jefferson reaching out, or maybe Jordan Addison, it's probably a catch. Like, that's the type of play that a backup wide receiver doesn't make. So I want to see more of that. Him, boom, going through a read, another, and making a definitive bullet throw over the middle. And if the receiver who's fighting for a roster spot doesn't catch it, like, I'm not going to penalize JJ McCarthy for that.
Right.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, no, I just think that from what I've seen at times, there's a processing thing. And look, it's going to take some time. Like that's why I believe the way the Vikings are approaching this is incredibly smart, because there's no pressure. Like, you can get things right. And so, if Darnold stinks in practice, guess what? Okay. Send to a 1-year contract. Yeah. But I would rather have him be the sacrificial lamb. I never want McCarthy to take lumps for the sake of taking lumps. That, to me, is the mistake the Vikings understand completely they can't make with him.
The other, just quickly on both McCarthy and Darnold and the other quarterbacks when they get reps, that's interesting to see is they've got these 2 gigantic screens that face the field, and they're angled a little bit sometimes. So if you're like the media, or you're sitting maybe in the front row of where the fans are, you can see they run the all 22 footage back right after the play is over. So JJ McCarthy, I saw a couple times where he'd get sacked, or maybe he'd be forced into a check down or something, or he'd go through his reads and he'd tuck and run. He would then frustratingly turn around, stare at the all 22 and see what's happening. That's a really interesting, just quick feedback tool for these guys instead of going through your whole practice. Yeah, dude, like the old days, you go through your whole practice And then later on, you go through the film of the practice, and I'm sure they still do that. But to see instantly the all 22, ooh, that guy was open actually, and you get that feedback right away, I think that probably helps quicken your learning process.
Is that new, or has that been there the last few years?
I don't remember that being a thing. Was it last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at least 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Because it blocks us. Like, I'm trying to see through it sometimes. I don't like it, but it's a very good tool.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of quarterback things still to get to, but I want to get to one that, Phil, I think is probably the most important. Practice wrapping up on a stormy Wednesday. So it's getting bad. We're getting updates from the security staff about where to take shelter.
Oh, it's kind of
It
scary.
was
How close
crazy, man.
lightning is. It never scared me. It's football, okay? You got to stay. You got to stay through it. Anyway, last drill. So this was supposed to be a 14-period practice that was going to run from 2:15 to 4:46, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. 446.
They eliminated, I think they eliminated the 13th period, and the last period, storm approaching, was 1:10 on the clock left. The offense was down 21-20, and you had a timeout to work with. This, I think, is indicative of where this is all going long term, okay? Because I think it highlighted something, and I think it also exposed something. Ones versus ones. So first team defense, first team offense. First team offense, obviously ran by Sam Darnold. Phil, I'd say starting field position 30-ish, 25-ish of the offense.
25 or 30, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yep.
First one. Darnold, first down, rushed. Spikes the ball at the feet of Aaron Jones to stop the clock, but you get nothing. Okay?
Incomplete. Yep.
Clock is stopped, incomplete. Let's say 105 left, 102 left. All right. Next one. Darnold completes a pass to Jordan Addison. Jefferson, a veteran day off, so he's not playing. Addison, who is outstanding, catches the pass. I believe it's a first down.
Brandon Powell and Jalen Naylor, the other two receivers in that 11 personnel with Jefferson out, by the way.
Yep.
That's a little depth chart hint for you.
In fact, yeah, the ball is now at, I have it as the 45. So you've now gotten to around, it's still the 45 of the offense, midfield. Darnold, short pass to Johnny Munt. Does this sound familiar? Stops the clock. He gets out of bounds. It gains 1 yard. So now you've gone up a yard. You do stop the clock. 34 seconds left, and this is where I think we exposed the difference between the haves and have-nots. Darnold goes deep, takes a deep shot. Don't blame him for Addison. Incomplete. Next play, Darnold for Ty Chandler. Incomplete. Flag thrown. Next play, 22 seconds left. Darnold for Brandon Powell. Incomplete. Last play, Darnold for Addison, broken up by Duke Shelley. End of the road. We've lost Phil. But the point is, so that's Darnold in a nutshell. The Vikings 1 versus 1s don't even get into field goal range. So Dex, that drive is done. You don't get to attempt a field goal. It's just done. You lose. JJ McCarthy. Now this is 2 versus 2, but I still think it shows things. Same starting position, so offenses 25 or 30. McCarthy, handoff to Kane Wongwu. Short gain. Here's the important play. So Darnold, in this case, threw 7 passes and completed, I think, 2 of them. All right? Second play of 2 versus 2. McCarthy to Lucky Jackson to approximately the defense's 33-yard line.
Wow. Okay.
You're in field goal position. This is what you want. You're down by 1.
Yep.
Okay?
That's like a 50, and that'd be like, what, a 50 yard.
Which your guy now should make.
Yeah,
like, this
right.
is why
Yep.
he was drafted.
Yep.
The next play, a handoff again to Wongwu with 43 seconds left. So now you're in control. Now it's only 1 pass against 7. But the point is, this is like full pressure. It's not, they're not going to hit the quarterback per se, so it's not exactly like a game. But nonetheless, JJ McCarthy, to me, showing presence on the field and that and getting you where you need to be to score.
Yeah.
Darnold didn't. Again, I don't think this means that JJ McCarthy should start September 8th. And I'm not even trying to denigrate Sam. What I am trying to say is it was pretty impressive for a guy in his first camp, steps in and just seems to have a swagger that you love to see.
I think those intangible clock management situations, those chaotic last minute of a game. I mean, look, we have rightfully so moved on from the Kirk Cousins bashing, but when you have a 9-year veteran lining up behind the guard on 1st and goal, we have problems there. So I think the fact JJ has been able to just have a winning culture at Michigan, but having also the surroundings and presence of mind for a clock ball or any type of situations like that where he's facing the clock and he's calm, cool, and collected, and he's rallying all of his troops. Ooh, those are humongous things that you sometimes can take for granted, and the Vikings haven't had that type of guy in a while. So I would love to see JJ McCarthy in those stressful situations just shine.
Yeah, Phil, I was just going through that.
I'm alive.
I'm glad you're back.
Lightning everywhere.
Storms are coming in. The lightning is 7.3 miles away. I was just going through the remainder of that situation. 1:10 left on the clock. If I'm not mistaken, Darnold in that drill threw 7 passes, completed 2 of them. McCarthy was 1 for 1, but as you'll recall, the 1 was a big gain and put you in field goal position with plenty of time left.
Yeah, it was a must-pass situation. It was a throw. By the way, he's been criticized for not being able to make big throws to his left. That was a throw going out of bounds to the left side of the field.
We haven't seen that.
No, he's making that throw.
Dude,
he's making it back left end zone in red zone drills too.
I don't know why his arm strength I didn't feel was talked about a ton. Perhaps I just missed it. Yeah. That dude's got arm strength. I wonder if the fact that Michigan relied on the run so much exposed any perceived weaknesses just because he didn't throw that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, that's the hard part about his draft status is you're projecting, okay, what if most of these quarterbacks are throwing twice as much per game, and you're projecting small sample sizes and what you saw in private workouts. But it looks to me like he can sling it anywhere he needs to in the intermediate. Maybe Darnold has the better deep ball 40, 50 yards down the field right now. I think we've seen more of it from him in the first week of practice, but yeah.
And the one thing too is it is very clear that this team is going to, and Phil, in the 2 padded practices, we've seen this both times. It's very clear there's going to be a priority put on the run game. Like, they are going to run now. Mm-hmm. I will be shocked. I will be absolutely shocked if this team again is bottom 5 as far as just rush attempts. The other thing is, I think we are clearing up the number 3 receiver. Jalen Naylor has been a red zone touchdown machine.
Yeah, it's right now it's kind of over, barring injury. That your
Brandon Powell makes the team, and he's the 4. Like, this is he's going to make the team. But Jalen, if he can stay on the field, which is the one
really
question.
Good.
Wow.
He looks really good. It's a week of practice, and he's got to stay healthy and all those things. But Hey, before we continue sifting through Judd's camp notes here and Phil's camp seasoning on top of Judd's camp notes.
Defensive seasoning to come, right?
The sports dad has found a new love. So a couple things here. Padrigs Brewing. We're pumped to have...
You left Dawn?
What? What happened?
What's going on?
I saw her 2 weeks ago.
I just saw the wedding. How could this happen?
Starting tomorrow, so Friday, at 9 a.m. Central Time, you can register to join us for a party at Padrigs Brewing in Minneapolis and an exclusive Purple Daily podcast recording. It'll just be for the crowd that's assembled at Padrigs. The event is open to only 100 people. It's free, but you must register for a ticket so we can at least have a head count of people in attendance. You can go to scorenorth.com/party starting at 9 a.m. on Friday and get those tickets. You must be 21 or older. Again, it's free, but we'll give you a Score North or Purple Daily pint glass filled with Padrigs beer we are very excited to have them on board for the 2024 season.
Yes, I have been there twice now, and I'm going to tell you. So they brew beers on site, and they've got a lot of great beers, but the Irish Red that they brew. Now I don't know
Yes.
when in the
Irish.
in the
Shave my
90s.
red.
I used to get red beers, and I loved them. Right?
Yeah, love me
And
red beer.
and in recent years, they're hard to find now. They're hard to find. Padraig's brews their own red. It is absolutely delicious.
We got a Declan and a Mackie here on the show to
Yes.
hang out with the sports dad.
So yeah, join us. It's going to be great fun. But I encourage you to join us to try the wide selection of beers because Pat and his crew at Padraig's are doing great work.
Yeah, scorenorth.com/party. A shout out to our friends over at Federated Mutual Insurance Company. They've helped us power Purple Daily and Score North podcast for a number of years here, so we thank them for their partnership. As a business owner, you got to make sure you have that frontline protection, that offensive line, if you will, for your business, a plan to stay focused on safety and preventing claims, and that's where Federated specializes. For over 100 years, they're based in Owatonna, Minnesota. 1904 is when they were founded, and you can find out more information about how Federated can help your business at federatedinsurance.com. At Federated Mutual Insurance Company, it's our business to protect yours.
Padraig's.
It's kind of like an Irish pirate. I got to work on that one there. I'll workshop it.
Work on
Okay.
that one. Yep.
That's fine.
Okay. Judd's
More
camp
camp notes? All
Let's
right.
do it. Let's do it.
All right, let's go to the defensive side of the football, where we are going to get some outstanding seasoning from Mr. Mackey. But before we do, if you want to talk about, so in the last like two and a half weeks, the Vikings have added 3 cornerbacks. It sounds like Shaq Griffin with that hamstring is nearing a return, but I will say this: it's a hamstring. He's a veteran. So if they are going to keep him out for a while longer, I don't blame them. But
You don't think that Shaq's injury is going to hamstring them in practice from getting good reps?
can you workshop that accent some more and no more hamstring puns? So the Vikings officially announced yesterday morning that they had signed veteran corner Fabian Morrow, who was a starter for much of last season with the Broncos. Clearly, he had not been with a team. So how desperate are the Vikings at cornerback? Well, as we saw yesterday in practice, we had in the nickel package with corners, we had Caleb Evans, Byron Murphy inside, and the right cornerback, Fabian Morrow. So, and this is first day with the team, first team. I did not see Andrew Booth get first team reps at all. He got second team reps, but it's just enlightening. And Jay Ward, it looks like, has now been moved from safety to corner. He also got some backup work at the corner spot, right corner as well. But Fabian Morrow, I would say it's fair to say, is vying for a job here. And if he looks good, it could stop the Vikings from potentially pursuing another veteran. But it is incredible that on his first day, he trots out of the locker room and he's the first team right corner in the nickel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that there's like 5 or 6 or 7 cornerbacks just in a stew right now. Jay Ward is mixing in. And by the way, my note from a couple days ago that literally I wrote down Jay Ward will stick his nose in there. I saw a couple more Jay Ward line of scrimmage run plays, just diving in and blowing something up. But yeah, it's going to be really fascinating to see how the next 3 or 4 weeks play out. I mean, health is going to be the main thing to determine who's even available, but it's kind of the fact that they're bringing dudes in off the street and just giving them starting reps in the secondary right now is really, really fascinating. And it shows you just how little structure they have with that position group.
They probably aren't pleased, but yeah, so he has a chance to definitely vie for significant playing time. Now, if once Shaq Griffin is back, I guess the question becomes, does Morrow have a chance to challenge a Caleb Evans? I don't know about that. But yeah, this team is definitely trying to find cornerbacks. As far as sticking your nose in, how about the day of now backup linebacker Brian Asamoah?
Asamoah.
I'm sorry. I unearthed that.
Put
now
some
I can't
respect
remember
on
how
his
to
name.
pronounce it. Anyway, Asamoah, how about his day? Couple of big hits, including a hit on Johnny Munt on a pass play. Now I think they're in full pads, so they can thud, as they say, which means collide.
Yeah.
Asamoah basically just hit Munt. Munt was so upset that he fell to the ground, got up, and threw the ball that he had just caught at Asamoah. Asamoah had his back turned and didn't see it, and Munt sort of moved towards him and then stopped, and Grenard got involved.
Teammates
and
came in.
broke things up. But this is a guy that definitely wants a roster spot, and I would say of all of these guys, especially from the 22 draft, who you're like, who wants to stay here, right? Andrew Booth Jr., I have my doubts. Lewis Seen continues to not practice, so there's your answer there. Asamoah, nose dirty.
Yeah, he's flashing. He's flying around, all the different cliches. That was a fun sequence because practice by that point we're like an hour and change in, and it's hot. The crowd was kind of dead because there's no shade at all whatsoever until the clouds come overhead. So people are just baking and fanning themselves with programs or whatever, and all of a sudden you hear a practice version of the cracking of the pads, and then Munt spikes the ball in the direction of Asamoah, and then a couple plays later, Johnny Munt breaks loose on, I don't know if it was red zone. I think it was just a full team on the edge of the red zone. And he catches a touchdown pass in traffic from Sam Darnold.
Yep.
And he spikes the ball again. It was like a revenge touchdown. So
it
was a great throw by Sam Darnold.
Throw.
Yep. And it was like the only spiciness we've really seen so far. The Vikings haven't had like major skirmishes or anything to this point. So
yeah, we don't fight. KOC don't like that. We don't fight.
But I like to see a little enthusiasm once in a while.
Yeah. And the last thing that I have in my notes is tight end Robert Tonyan, who I thought might have a real chance. He was carted off early in practice, had back spasms, don't know his status. I will say this. It is very clear. In fact, my next camp projection will probably reflect this, or I'm sorry, my 53-man roster projection will probably reflect this. It is very clear that Johnny Munt and I think Nick Muse are going to make this team.
Yeah, Nick Muse is getting
getting good run, and Munt's and Munt is playing, as far as I can tell, the Hawkinson role.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to have Oliver, Munt, Muse on the opening day roster, and now that I have seen Tonyan not get much work and he's hurt, I'm guessing he doesn't make it.
Agreed. And N'Keal Harry is sort of an afterthought so far through the first week of practice as he transitions from wide receiver to tight end.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him.
So, okay, I've got two bonus nuggets to throw at you guys. Phil's Camp Seasoning, brought to us by the Renaissance Festival, Minnesota Renaissance Festival, open weekends starting August 17th through September 29th. So it's Saturdays and Sundays, plus Labor Day, Festival Friday on September 27th. You can throw axes, wield swords, watch live armored combat jousting, see real live Vikings, enjoy tasty turkey legs. Say that 5 times fast. Tasty turkey legs. Tasty turkey legs.
No thanks.
Beer and wine, 16 stages of entertainment, and a huge marketplace. The Minnesota Renaissance Festival. Tickets available, discounted tickets at renaissancefest.com. I've seen some people wondering, how do you spell Renaissance on the audio side? RENAISSANCE, renaissancefest.com. You can also just Google Minnesota Ren Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that'll
That's what I do.
where you need to.
Just copy
That's
and
what I do.
paste it. That's like
That's what I do.
And actually, if you go to the Score North app listener rewards section, you can win a 4-pack of tickets to Renfest. That's listener rewards on the Score North mobile app. So, a couple things. Gabriel Murphy, and I know that I am propaganda for Gabriel Murphy. He is my number one pick in Mr. Mankato.
Gabriel Murphy media.
But he's looked good, and he's getting, yesterday he got more run sprinkled in with the first team defense. He's not like with the first team defense all the time, but you'll see him in there with Jonathan Grenard. So yes, they're mixing in the first week of training camp, an undrafted rookie free agent edge rusher from UCLA, who was, I think, 170th or 175th on the consensus big boards, and yet somehow went undrafted.
And Phil, have you seen Andre Carter get mixed into those?
Yeah, absolutely.
First team?
Andre Carter and Gabriel Murphy both mixing in
So-
once in a while with the first team defense.
That's interesting.
Giving those a good chance. And then Jihad Ward, who's the veteran sort of journeyman edge rusher. He was with the Giants last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
He's massive. He doesn't look like the other edge rushers because he's like 255, 60 pounds, 6'2". He stands out. They were using him a couple times as an interior pass rusher in must-pass situations, like third downs, fourth downs.
I love this.
Where you've got maybe your Dallas Turner and your Van Ginkel, or Grenard and Van Ginkel, and then on the interior, at least one of the reps that I saw was Patrick Jones and then Jihad Ward, two edge rushers. Like basically their two biggest edge rushers on the interior to give you a 4 edge rusher front in some of those must-pass situations. So I thought that was interesting. And if you look at Jihad Ward's career, again, he's not going to move the needle like a Grenard will in the pass rush game. But if you look at his career, which goes back to 2016, a pretty large percentage of his snaps have come B-gap or over the tackle versus outside edge. So previous teams have not been afraid to move him to the interior as a pass rush. Something to keep an eye on.
I wonder now in retrospect, as I see this, especially Patrick Jones, because he's not a great player, but he looks the part. I wonder if Flores toyed with the idea of getting Danielle Hunter more rushing attempts inside, and Danielle balked at it. Because like Danielle's build looks like when you see this, it does look like, hey, and when Zimmer moved him inside at times along with Griffin for the playoff game against the Saints, it worked great. I don't know this. I'm not saying that he did balk, but it just seems like, because we always expected that he might move Hunter around more, especially at times inside, and it didn't happen. And I thought it's because Flores decided against it. And Danielle's so good, he might have. But it sure would have fit the profile to get Danielle inside at times. But of course, if he's going to say, I don't really want to do that, you're probably not going to ask him to do it.
Yeah. It's a good theory. It's a good theory.
Reckless. It's reckless speculation, but it's Thursday, so I'm bringing it.
All right, we got to go because we have our guy Trevor Plouffe lined up here just behind the scenes for a Tuesdays with Trevor on a Thursday edition of the Scorner Twin Show. Try to process that for a second. But Judd's camp notes on fire 1 week into Vikings training camp, and we'll do it again tomorrow for a Feedback Friday live on the Purple Daily YouTube channel at 10 a.m. Central Time. And don't forget, please, if you could, even if you want to just donate $5 or if you want to bid on one of these items all week long, scorenorth.com/auction.
Come have dinner with us.
Come
We
have
don't
dinner
bite.
with us. Yes.
We don't bite. We're nice guys. Plus
We'll
you can
bite
call us
that parlor
morons.
burger, though.
Oh,
Tell you that much.
Jud's probably better.
Get away from that.